Everyone. My name is Michelle Robinson, and I'm a member of the Epsilon Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I'm also the community impact leader for breast cancer awareness. I'd like to thank you for attending our third Survivors panel tonight. 2020 posed a challenge that no one was ready to face, and breast cancer prevention was no exception. Although we saw setbacks in screenings and early detection, we're rising to the challenge together. Globally, breast cancer affects more women than any other cancer and the leading cause of death among women. Tonight, we have 5 amazing panelists that have special connections to breast cancer. As you listen to their journeys and personal connections, remember, we're in this together. Breast cancer education is a serious matter for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome. This is the agenda, and that was the welcome. Now I'll have an introduction of the leadership team. First, I have President of the Epsilon Omega chapter, Ms. Lois D. Knight Harrison.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am Lois Knight Harrison, and I serve as the Centennial President for the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Epsilon Omega chapter. I would like to first of all thank member Michelle for her leadership in putting together this panel discussion. Now, I would also like to thank each of our panelists that is here with us this evening as they give us their story on the breast cancer. Thank you all so much and enjoy the panel discussion.
And we have Ms. Jan Carter, is the Vice President of Programs.
Good evening, everyone. I would also like to welcome you to this very important panel discussion. I hope you will find some information tonight that you did not know and some things that you could pass on to others, because we know that breast cancer is a very serious threat to our community. And we want to recognize those people who have survived breast cancer, who are survivors, and enjoy our program. Thank you.
Thank you. We next will have an introduction. She's not here today. Dr. Tanya Ringel is our Alpha Kappa Alpha North Atlantic Regional Representative to the International Program Committee and also the North Atlantic Region Program Chair. Next, we'll have Ms. Gina Loving-Clash.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I will just say thank you for joining us, and I do hope on this Impact Day that you find just a little bit of information you didn't know about, listen to something that may spike you to take a better look at your own health and do the things that we say we're going to do, but sometimes don't do, and do the follow-up. So again, I say welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. And if you can, please put yourself on mute if you are not speaking. So all guests who are attending and listening, please put yourself on mute. Thank you so much. Okay, and this is the Target 2 Women's Healthcare Wellness. The initiatives, they focus on breast cancer awareness and prevention, heart health, nutrition and wellness, and care for the caregivers. And I'm Michelle Robinson, and I already did the introduction for myself. Okay, so the breast cancer awareness and prevention. So this initiative focuses on early detection through mammograms to improve the survival rate of women diagnosed with breast cancer. Alpha Kappa Alpha owns the AKA Mobile Breast Cancer Screening Unit that travels to various cities throughout the United States. Just a few weeks ago, the mammogram mobile was in Baltimore, part of the HBCU Week, AKA Pop-Up Health Fair. And you see the bus on the very far bottom. On the top corner, you have the breast cancer survivors that attended the event with our mayor, and then a few of the volunteers for the event. The bus did come on the 25th of September. We did have 38 mammograms that were presented to, were given out, 35 flu shots, and we provided 26 COVID vaccines to the public. Now we will have 2 members of my committee, Ms. Shana Baker and Ms. Felicia Hardy, give a few facts about breast cancer awareness.
Good evening, everyone. I want to share 3 pertinent facts about breast cancer with you. The information that I'm sharing is located on the CDC's website. Breast cancer is the second most common cancer among women in the United States. Black women die from breast cancer at a higher rate than white women. Survival is higher when breast cancer is found before it is spread to other parts of the body. Mammograms are the best way to find breast cancer early, when it is easier to treat and before it's big enough to feel or cause symptoms. And finally, you can help lower your risk of breast cancer by taking care of your health in the following ways. Keep a healthy weight, exercise regularly, don't drink alcohol or limit alcoholic drinks. If you are taking or have been told to take hormone replacement or oral contraceptives such as birth control pills, ask your doctor about the risk and find out if it is right for you. Breastfeed your children if possible. If you have a family history of breast cancer or inherited changes in your BRCA1 or BRCA2 genes, talk to your doctor about other ways to lower your risk. Staying healthy throughout your life will lower your risk of developing cancer and improve your chances of surviving cancer if it occurs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Felicia Hardy, and I'm going to share a few of the breast cancer signs and symptoms and some possible risk factors. Knowing how your breasts normally look and feel is an important part of breast health. Although having regular screening tests for breast cancer is important, mammograms do not find every breast cancer. This means it is also important for you to be aware of changes in your breast and to know the signs and symptoms. The most common symptom of a breast cancer is a new lump or mass. A painless hard mass that it has irregular edges is more likely to be cancer, but breast cancers can be tender, soft, or round. They can even be painful. For this reason, it is important to have new breast mass, lump, and breast change checked by an experienced health professional often. Other symptoms would include swelling of the breast, skin dimpling, breast or nipple pain, nipple retraction, nipple or breast skin that is red, dry, flaky, or thickened, or nipple discharge. Then breast cancer risk factors you cannot change. These are some of the things. A risk factor is anything that increases your chances of getting a disease, such as breast cancer. But having a risk factor or even many does not mean that you are sure to get the disease. Some of these risk factors are just being born female. This is the main risk factor. This is the main risk factor for breast cancer. Men can get breast cancer too, but this disease is much more common in women than men. Getting older, most breast cancers are found in women in age 55 or older. Another factor is inheriting certain gene changes. About 5 to 10% breast cancer cases are thought to be hereditary, meaning that these test results directly from gene changes, mutations, passed on from a parent. Having a family history of breast cancer. It is important to note that most women get breast cancer do not have a family history of the disease. But women who have close blood relatives with breast cancer have a higher risk. Overall, about 15% of women with breast cancer have a family member with this disease. And just a few others would be having dense breast tissue, having a personal history of breast cancer, your race and ethnicity, and then having certain benign breast conditions are just some of the factors that are risk factors. Thank you.
Thank you for those facts. I'd like to introduce the panel. First, we have Ms. Sharika Jones. She was diagnosed on January 7, 2011. We'll have Ms. Jennifer Jackson, diagnosed on June 29th of 2017. We have Ms. Renetta Ellison, diagnosed December 4th, 2019. Dr. Talisha Chandler, diagnosed August 18, 2015. And a licensed therapist, Ms. Wanda Harrison, to talk to us tonight about her experiences. So let's chat. I'm gonna stop screen share. So please make sure you have the person highlighted so you'll hear them talk about their experiences. If you have any questions throughout the evening, please put them in the chat. We'll get to them momentarily. All right, So I guess I'll go with Miss Sharika Jones. I guess everyone will go by one. Please introduce yourselves and briefly explain your connection to breast cancer.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sharika Jones. I'm excited to be a guest on the panel this evening. So thank you to Felicia Hardy for inviting me. I'm connected to breast cancer because I am a breast cancer survivor. This coming Wednesday, October 6th, I will celebrate 10 years cancer-free. Praise the Lord. I'm so happy and excited, and I stand, if you cannot see my sweatshirt, as a living testimony. This is something that I live by, thanks to my breast cancer journey. And I'm just happy to be here to stand as a resource, a source, a motivation, and a source of empowerment and encouragement to women who, or anyone actually, who just goes through life experiencing sickness, anxiety, depression, whatever, because breast cancer is not my only testimony, but it is something that God has used to open me up more so that I can help others come through or endure through their process. So that's how I'm going to introduce myself.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll have Miss Jennifer Jackson.
Hello, thank you for having me on the panel today. I am Jennifer Jackson. I recently moved from the DMV to Houston, and I am a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2017. It was a really hard journey, but I am still here, and my goal is to share my story with anybody and everybody that will listen, because I owe it to God. So it's all about trying to give back, trying to reach back, and inspire other women that may be going through this. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, can I have Miss Renetta Ellison please introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Renetta, and I am newly out of the treatment for breast cancer. I was diagnosed almost 2 years ago. December would make 2 years ago. And, you know, I'm not really a fan yet of really talking about breast cancer, but, you know, I always try to look at the silver lining of things and, you know, look at what God is using me for. And I think my story is one of which, you know, being your own advocate really, you know, was real for me, because I was misdiagnosed and, you know, basically thought of as just being ridiculous because I was pushing for a biopsy. And I thought I was very healthy, did everything I was supposed to do. I exercised, I ate right, even though I did have a family history. And so I was just getting a routine mammogram and was diagnosed. And so just based on how things happen for me, I think it's important for me to just share, even when you think it can't happen to you, you know, take care of yourself. You have to still get those mammograms and listen to your gut. So I just want to share my story.
Thank you, Renetta. Can I have Miss Talisha Chandler, please? Dr. Talisha Chandler, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm very happy and excited to be with you all this evening. Thank you to Shana Baker for inviting me. I don't even know where to start. I'm so pumped up already just from hearing the other panelists. I have so much in common with so many of you already. But I would like to introduce myself by saying, first of all, I am a wife, a mom of 3, and I was diagnosed. I just celebrated 6 years, actually. I am still in treatment. I have been in treatment every 3 weeks since 2015, but I serve a God who is able to keep you, and I'm so thankful to just still be here. I'm thankful that I can share my own story, and that means a lot to me because according to my doctors, I should not be here. I was diagnosed at a late stage, and like one of the other panelists, I advocated for myself. I knew something was wrong because I did self-checks every month. I started getting my mammograms at age 39 to get a baseline. And then I later found out that the radiologist who was treating me had also failed to diagnose close to 25 other women in his practice. And I'm sure the number is most likely higher. So that is my reason for joining panel discussions and any other discussion where I can, share my story with as many women as possible so that this does not happen to anyone else, because breast cancer is awful and I don't want anyone else to go through it. So again, thanks for letting me be here with you all tonight.
Thank you so much for that. And I'll have Miss Wanda Harrison introduce herself. Oh, you're on mute, Miss Wanda.
I do that all the time. I'm so sorry. Good evening. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Wanda Harrison. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have a connection to breast cancer. I had a sister who was diagnosed over 30-some years ago. And like many of you, it was a family diagnosis. It wasn't just her that was diagnosed. It impacted us all. And my reason for being on the panel is to share information about Hopewell Cancer Support. I don't know if any of you are aware of it, but it has been in existence since 1993. And we offer a variety of programs at no charge, which are led by professional instructors who are certified in that area and specialize in working with people with a cancer diagnosis and with families with a cancer diagnosis. So I am happy to share any information about our organization with you. And I will do that as the program goes on.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a few questions for the panelists, so feel free to jump in. There is no order, but I want to ask, when were you diagnosed? What age? How did you know? And what did you feel when you were diagnosed and were told that you had breast cancer or you need to go back for a second mammogram or a second opinion?
Okay, I don't mind going first. I was diagnosed on January 7th, 2011. I was 31 years old, and I found my lump on self-check, not even really self-check. I was just lying in the bed. And if any of you women are like me, you're just comfortable with touching yourself for no apparent reason. But that particular evening, I was glad that I did because I felt the lump. And initially I was not concerned, not thinking about breast cancer anyway, but I knew it was something different about my breast. So I did schedule an appointment with my primary care physician the next week. So around December 29th is when I found the lump. I had my appointment on January 2nd. They were just saying it was just fibrous tissue changes because of my age, of course. But thankfully, they still suggested that I have a mammogram done. I had the mammogram done on January 6th, 2011. And then they called me back that afternoon to come in for a biopsy because of the shape and feel of the lump. So I had a biopsy that was supposed to be, or ultrasound rather, ultrasound biopsy that was only supposed to be like 15 minutes. And I was in that office for over 2 hours. And pretty much at that point, I felt in my spirit that it was gonna be breast cancer. Not that it was something I had much knowledge about, but I just felt just that confirmation in my spirit. So initially I was like really in shock. But to be honest, throughout my whole journey, even through my emotional roller coaster, I have to say that I maintained a strong level of faith, even in sharing with my family the news. I felt like I may have been a stronger support for them than I expected them to be for me, because breast cancer is hard. The diagnosis of breast cancer is hard for the person going through it, but it is just as hard as your support system and the people who care about you. So my thoughts initially, again, were shock. But my whole experience was very humbling for me. It taught me a lot. It grew me up a lot. It revealed a lot about me that I didn't realize before. And I will say that it allowed me to stand bolder and more courageous. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other panelists want to share their experiences and those questions?
Hi, I'll go next. I was 33. I thought I was finally stepping into my fairy tale. I just got married and bought a house, and my husband and I hadn't even been married a year yet. And I found this discharge coming from one of my nipples, and I was like, what is that? And I was like trying to figure out all the ways to like blame my husband, because I was like, it's not happening to me. And so eventually went for a mammogram, and like the other woman said, just kind of took it from there, mammogram, and then the ultrasound and the biopsy. And it was all really scary because I didn't have a family history of breast cancer. And I was, you let everyone else tell you don't have to worry about this until you're 40, right? And so I'm like, I still got a few more years to have to deal with this. And so it was very, very scary, but Black women are resilient, and I found my way and got treatment, and I'm better for it now.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I was 41 at the time of diagnosis, and I just completed defending my dissertation and doing a self-check. Something didn't seem right. My breast was very different. It felt hard. There was dimpling. And so I first scheduled an appointment with my gynecologist and shared with her my concerns and what I felt during a self-check. She agreed and stated that she, felt the same thing. She agreed with everything that I shared with her, said that she saw what I was talking about. So I asked her if she could look at my previous mammogram and advise me on what next step I should take. So she informed me that she would take a look at the previous mammogram. I had another mammogram scheduled for 2 months away, but I just wanted to know if I, needed to, see the radiologist sooner. So she never got back to me. And then I ended up looking at my patient portal, and she had written a note in the portal that just stated, that the doctor confirmed patient's concerns in office and advised the patient to wait for upcoming mammogram. So, to me that meant that, well, maybe she, saw the other mammogram and there are no concerns. So even though I noticed something different and felt like something was wrong, she was kind of saying what I wanted to hear, because, the last thing I wanted her to say is, I think it's something serious here, let's get you in tomorrow. So, so that's my first tip, like always follow your gut. Like if you feel like something is wrong, then continue to be your own advocate. So I waited that 2 months, but between the time that I saw her and the radiologist, I ended up going to my family practitioner because I started having back pain. And so when I saw my family practitioner, I shared with her everything that had transpired, told her that I was concerned about how my breast felt and looked. So she told me that I needed to perhaps see a plastic surgeon if I was concerned about how they looked. So needless to say, that was the last time that I ever went to that doctor. I finally went to have my mammogram. I was called back in for an ultrasound. 6 months, they wanted to have a follow-up. So I saw them in February. I went for a follow-up in May. The radiologist looked at me, shook my hand. He went over the film with me. He said everything was good. We can see you in a year. And I was like, I said, wait a minute. I said, so can you share with me what that white thing is on the film? It was just something that would stand out to any other, amateur eye like mine. I'm not a medical doctor, so I wanted to know, what is that on my film? He told me it was calcification, nothing to worry about, see you in 1 year. And that was in May of 2015. In August of 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It had already spread to my bones and liver. And needless to say, I was devastated, shocked. My mother, and of course my husband was with me. I heard someone say, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your family. And I totally agree with that. It has been a really hard journey. And so I'll stop right there for now. But that's, how the story began.
So I was a little different from the other panelists that have shared because I had no symptoms. I went for a routine mammogram and 40 just doing the usual. And when I had my mammogram, I, had calcifications on it. And I was told, oh, well, we'll do a second mammogram. The second mammogram was done. And afterwards, they decided that they would just watch me because it wasn't cancer, because my cells weren't shaped like cancer cells. But that didn't sit well with me because, one, I know calcifications aren't normal. And cells do different things and they work differently, and every body is different. And so I told the radiologist that I didn't want them to watch me. And then I started asking questions. When you say watch, how long is that? And they said, oh, we'll bring you back in 6 months. And I'm like, too long. And so we went through this back and forth, and I said, I want a biopsy. I want to know for sure, what it is. And the radiologist started telling me about the different studies and radiology imageries and just all of this scientific stuff that I was not interested in because I knew I wanted a biopsy. And so we went back and forth for a while, and I told him flat out, I'm gonna have a biopsy. And so he went to go get the head radiologist. So she came in, and I can tell she was kind of like, oh, one of these kind of patients today. But she actually listened, even though I could tell that she thought maybe I was overreacting. And so then she made a comment like, well, I might be able to get the insurance to cover it. And I said, doesn't matter, I'm getting a biopsy. And so I told her, I said, and now that I've explained everything to you, I'm not gonna explain it again. I want you to do the biopsy. And I said, and the tech that assisted with the mammogram, I want her to assist with the biopsy. And so she was like, oh, well, that'll take a while to get scheduled. And I said, doesn't matter, I'll wait. Because I felt like, they just don't take you serious. They don't think you know. So I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire because I know, what I feel. So that was in November, because I had the first mammogram in October, the second one in November. And so the scheduling took so long. It was December when I had the biopsy. So when I got the phone call, I just knew like, not gonna be anything because they were so adamant that it wasn't cancer. And when they called, they were like, Miss Ellison, and they paused, like I could tell something was disturbing him. And that's when the doctor finally said, it's malignant, you have breast cancer. And I think my first reaction was like, excuse me? Like I was kind of pissed off because you all just made this big deal about me asking for a biopsy. And even in my report from my mammogram, they actually annotated it and said something along the lines, we want to watch the patient, but she requested a biopsy. They wrote language like it was unnecessary, but they were doing, CYA, covering their cells. But it turned out patient was right. And I just got all of these apologies from the doctor. So I think it took a minute for it to even like sit with me because just how the whole thing, evolved. And then when we fast forward, that was December. We had a pandemic in March. All the elective screenings were canceled. So had I listened to them and waited to be watched for 6 months, who knows, it probably would have been not, my journey would have been different, because who knows what the cancer cells would have done, by that point. I was caught early, but, no matter what stage you are diagnosed in, it's still an unpleasant journey. So that's my story, and I probably have a lot of more interesting things that happened on the journey that were unpredicted for me, because I guess I was just atypical. Like, they didn't remove my lymph nodes, but I ended up with lymphedema that people was shocked about because of the radiation. So it was just full of opportunities where I had to stand up for myself.
I see a common theme of being an advocate for yourself in the office. You know, did any of you guys have Black physicians or Black providers that you reached out to? Did you feel comfortable? Because it feels like a lot of times you get dismissed, and Black women are dismissed a lot of times for our pain levels and what we're going through in the hospitals, talking about pregnancy and things like that. Those are things that we experience a lot, that they ignore our pain. And if we aren't an advocate for ourselves, we get left behind. So I guess I want to ask about your physicians. Were they Black? And then what stage were you at? And then I guess from there, what was your next step? Did you go right into radiation? Did you go into surgery? Like, what were your next steps for, I guess, the next 6 months? What did you do about that?
So I want to say, yeah, you go into it thinking, I have a Black physician, I have a woman physician, I have a minority, but you got to stay on everybody, period. Because I had a situation where my incision opened. I knew my incision, something was wrong with it. Call the doctor, Black female doctor, sweet, love her. I thought she was very thorough and great, but I felt like the issues with my incision were kind of brushed over. Even when I went for a follow-up appointment and it was observed, I was thinking to myself, just don't know. It seems like it's healing slow because my incision was glued and the bandage didn't come off in the time frame I was told it was going to come off. And I called after I started having pain, and I said something is wrong with the incision. So the doctor was out in Hartford County at one of the offices there. And I said, I will drive to Hartford County. You need to look at this. And she was like, no, let's just make an appointment for later in the week when I'm back in Baltimore. Okay, I didn't like it, but sure, I didn't fight. And then in the meantime, she called in some cream for me to put on the incision. Mind you, you haven't seen the incision, but I did it. It made it worse. And it was just awful. When I went to that appointment on Friday, when she saw it, her response was, my incisions don't look like that. Well, who incision is it? So obviously, I think, although it was obvious that someone else closed me up, and I believe probably like a resident, because I remember meeting one of the residents in the OR. And so I just kind of felt like you didn't have me. You let somebody else close me up. And I understand teaching hospital, we gotta, but it just kind of felt like I felt a little let down. And then I ended up being on such a high dose of antibiotics because we needed the incision to heal because it was late off schedule healing. And so radiation was gonna have to be pushed back because the incision had to heal before I could start radiation. So to this day, that incision looks a mess. The doctor offered to fix it. She said, once it heals up, I will go back in and fix that because my incisions just don't look like that. Like, she looked disturbed looking at it. It wasn't a big deal to me once the thing healed up. It's like whatever. But that was a situation where I felt like, yeah, I had a Black doctor. Well, my surgeon rather, was a Black female whom I really liked, but you just got to advocate for yourself, period. The radiologist who was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it for you. She was a minority woman. She was maybe Indian. Well, she's a woman of color, I'll say. I guess still minority. But, I don't know. I just think you have to be on your toes, period, and go with your gut instinct.
Oh, no, I totally agree with that, and we keep hearing the word advocate for yourself, and that's the important thing because I feel like doctors, regardless of their race, tend to treat the disease and not the person. And it's very important to treat the person. Had they listened to you, you know, had she listened to you, things may have turned out differently. And I just, like Dr. Chandler was saying, it's a family disease. Everybody is impacted, and everybody needs to be supported in this journey. The thing that helps when you're talking about it, and some of you have said it already, is that you're sharing your experience with others, and hopefully others won't have to, or will take a different track. And at Hopewell, we have support groups, and that's what those do. They validate what you're feeling and motivate you, advocate for you, tell you, go get a second opinion. Don't put up with that, and I think that's important. I think that's really important.
I definitely agree with that. For me, because the information that you receive when you're diagnosed with breast cancer, it's so extreme, and you're like, what in the world are you talking about? So it's very important to ask questions. Just because you have a title of physician or surgeon or whatever behind your name does not mean that you have all of the answers. What I've learned about medical professionals is that they are practicing, and I am just like the guinea pig. But I've learned to become my own physician over the past several years, seemingly being a hypochondriac since I was a little girl when it came to sicknesses and stuff. But you definitely have to ask questions. When I was diagnosed, I was fortunate to have a support system around me that were there to attend my appointments and ask questions that I may have missed, or to challenge and hold the staff accountable. And for me also, I was diagnosed, I shared that I had my biopsy and everything on January 6th, and I was diagnosed positive for breast cancer the next day, January 7th. I started with surgery in February. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought someone was trying to say something. I had my first surgery in February. After that, my margins were not clear, so I had to have the second surgery. And I ended up having a lumpectomy. That was my initial goal. But because of the second procedure, of course, much more tissue was taken from me. So I had a little pancake. I called it my little flapjack. But I embraced every part of my journey the best way I knew how, because I knew that my outlook was going to help make the difference throughout. So if I was being pessimistic or just kind of doubtful about everything, I knew that was going to make my spirit more weary. So I was definitely intentional about trying to find the optimism when I could. Every day was not like that, but when I could, I definitely did. I started chemotherapy in March of that year, 2011. And I went through chemo several months, being allergic to some of the treatment, and my schedule being extended just to adjust to different medications. I lost my hair, which was the most difficult part of the journey for me, because I felt that it was something that affected my identity. Initially, it was my fear, because my identity was everything to me. Like now my hair, it grew out from being bald and everything. But before cancer, I was in control of my hair. If I wanted to color it, if I wanted to cut it, if I wanted to grow it out, wear a weave, wig, whatever, I was in control of that. So to lose that type of control, it just does something, especially to a female. We like to look good. And me losing my hair, I thought that would make my image different, especially being a young woman in a relationship with someone I love deeply. I thought that he would look at me different, but he embraced that part of the journey in a way I never even expected. He helped cut my hair down and everything. So we were like bald twins together. So through that process, that's where my strength began to come. And then I started radiation August of that year, August through October. And through my radiation period is when I started attending Zumba classes. That was the most I've ever felt fatigued was radiation, but I felt like I needed something to kind of help boost my energy. And Zumba absolutely did that for me. It did not matter how tired I was. You know, I pushed through. I started with one class and then I started doing back-to-back classes. And that particular fitness regimen changed, you know, it was the extra push to get me through that victory, into that victory. So whomever is listening, whether you are healthy, if you think you're healthy or not, exercise is a very intricate portion of our physical health and well-being, because it's not just about, you know, wanting to be skinny or anything. Some skinny people are the most unhealthy people that exist. But you have to be physically fit, even mentally and emotionally. And so for fitness, for me, it's an emotional and mental release and empowerment. So if you're not exercising, please start with 10 minutes of your day walking, walking outside, going up and down your stairs, lifting your arms up, just something to get moving, because it kind of helps just regulate your mental, and it's a good push for your day and your thinking.
And again, that's what Hopewell has to offer. Again, it's Hopewell Cancer Support. Our mission at Hopewell is to create a community for all people with a cancer diagnosis that encourages the exchange of information, the development of a network system, and of course, always the presence of hope. We have not just the support groups, we have all kinds of exercise classes. We don't have Zumba, but we do have Tai Chi and Qigong and stretch and tone and art classes and sound meditation, and many other classes. And like I said, these are all free of charge, and it's all through Zoom right now. Hopewell is located out at Green Spring Valley. I don't know if any of you know where that is. It's next to the park there. It's a big grounds with a country house and a big barn. And that's where the classes are when we're in person. Since March of 2020, we have been virtual and will probably stay virtual till next year. But please, I encourage any of you who are interested. We welcome everybody, including families.
And I just want to put a plug in for these type of programs. I didn't attend Hopewell, but it was on the list, but I took the lazy route, I guess, because I was just exhausted from doctor's appointments. But I went to a similar place at St. Joseph Cancer Center, and it was right across from where I was doing physical therapy. So I chose that because it just minimized me having to drive to another place and a different appointment. But these programs that provide these free services for cancer patients are amazing. And even, we think sometimes, oh, well, we won't benefit from that if you have insurance or whatever. Even with good insurance, you still have $1,000 bills. And so to be able to, just go to a place that has all of these things that are like catered to you. The place that I went to, I would do aromatherapy because it's just stressful. And they had acupuncture and some other different, I think Tai Chi and other things you could do on Zoom. But, just having access to those things, and they just work with your schedule, work with you and how you feel, it brings some comfort and reduces your stress level. And, these people who work in these spaces, they get you. So whenever, you have the opportunity to donate to these nonprofits and organizations, I can speak from personal experiences that it matters. And the funding, goes a long way to help patients.
The other good thing is, when we were in person, because of where we're located, many Black families could not access our services. There is no bus line there. It's at the end of Falls Road. We tried to get Hopkins to bring a bus from downtown and bring, because they have all these buses. Greensboro Station is out there. But virtually everybody can join. Everybody can join. So again, we encourage that. We have caretakers groups. We recently started a 40 and under group, which has really, those numbers are increasing. So please, if you're interested at all, I'd be happy to share how to access us.
One thing I want to mention also, I've seen in the chat, is about support and your family members. So kind of want to talk about the experience you had with your family. We all, either whether they're far or near, what support did your family provide for you during those times? I know when my mom had breast cancer, I think I was 15 years old. I was offering to give her shots and stuff, and I wanted to be hands-on, but just me being present there for her, I think, helped her through the experiences and kept her moving because she had to take care of me. And so I think I like to say I was her guiding hope and things. But so what about your family? What did your family play part of your experiences? How did they help you through this?
My family has been absolutely amazing. My husband, as I stated, he was with me when I first received the diagnosis, as was my mom. So I'm originally from Baltimore, however, we live in Virginia now. So my mother, as well as my mother-in-law, they basically moved in with us. They packed up some things, got on 95, and they were here. My husband goes with me even now, and I know for me, it's been a minute now that I've been, still having treatment, but I mean, he goes with me to every appointment with my oncologist. And I think if someone else stated that, sometimes it's good to have someone present because sometimes, even now, even though it's 6 years for me in treatment, I'm still overwhelmed and it's still overwhelming. It has not gotten easier. And I'm just being honest. I mean, yes, I'm a believer and, I know that God is with me, but I'm just being, sometimes this is hard. Like I still have insomnia, I still cry myself to sleep at night. I never thought I'd be taking antidepressants, anxiety medicine. I mean, once I think I have a psychiatrist and I was talking to him, telling him, how, what a bad, rough time it was with cancer. And even he referred me to a therapist. So cancer is difficult, but, my family, they still encouraged me and they never made me feel, bad because initially I felt some type of way about, going to a psychiatrist. I was like, people are going to think I'm crazy. And, my family, they just continue to encourage me, pray for me. They have stuck with me. My sister, who works tirelessly, would drive down for every treatment the entire first year. I'll never forget that because just her sitting with me, she didn't have to say anything, do anything. Just her presence alone really uplifted me. I have friends who would text me. So I told them a lot of times I didn't like to talk on the telephone, but I said, if you send a text, though, sometimes when I have those dark moments, when it's just me, your texts or, your memes, because I love to laugh, but sometimes it was just hard to find something to laugh about. And I have friends who even now they still send me text messages and I love it because, it gives me something to laugh at, and it also lets me know that they're thinking about me. There are people who I don't know, even through social media, who I know they've been praying for me. They reach out to me, they'll send me messages that are very encouraging, and just to know that I'm not alone, even though I haven't met you all in person, I think except Sharika, that's my girl. Sharika danced at my wedding. So this is, I didn't know she was gonna be on the panel. So, just to reconnect, and then, just meeting amazing ladies like you all, it's just very uplifting. I have to say I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta, but hey, Cancer doesn't know anything about colors. And so I'm glad that my cousins who wear pink and green, I'm thankful that you all are doing this, because you're spreading awareness. So hey, I'm not hating. I'm thank you for doing this. Thank you for letting me be a part to share. And I'm looking at the time. I just want to say this one quick thing, Michelle, if it's okay. I want to make sure that anybody who is watching, that if you get your mammograms regularly, try to go to someone different. Try not to go to the same place each time. And I'm just saying that based on my experience. I went to the same radiologist for all of my mammograms, and I feel like had I went to someone else, it would have been a different eye looking at the film. And perhaps, it would have been caught, because then what happened is, once I realized that the radiologist who did see me, once I saw that his license was taken, and I probably had a part in that, because, I just felt like there's no way that I'm going to, have my mammogram. You always hear early detection is key. So I'm thinking, well, I had early detection, so why didn't it work for me? Well, I just so happened to have this person who we ended up finding out was, sleep on the job a lot of times. He was the owner, and so he just had people coming in and out. So his pocket was getting thick, but there were people like me whose diagnoses were being missed or just not given, even if he did know something was wrong. So, and that's unacceptable, as we all know. So once I shared that with my oncologist, and we were trying to, I was trying to pursue the legal route to make sure that this person never had a chance to do this to anyone else. My doctor told me, okay, I'm going to refer you to have a mammogram. Even though we know you have cancer, you still, I still can use that information for staging, and to see how, another radiologist sees everything on his end. And so once this doctor, I went to have the mammogram, and I'm sure most of you know, the radiologist doesn't normally come from behind, come in to get the results right then and there. But this doctor did. He came in, closed the door. He said, first of all, I want to let you know that I'm seeing a lot of patients from this particular clinic, and I want to apologize to you. And so as soon as he said that, I was like, I just knew to say, but I did not expect for him to say that the cancer should have been caught at my very first mammogram in 2013. So that meant that I had went to this person over and over, and each time I had cancer every time that I saw him, but he never said anything, never referred me, never called me, like nothing. And so, and that's why I'm asking everyone, just consider it. I'm hoping that this is nobody else's story, but I have to tell that part, because I still can't believe it, that I could have been caught at the very earliest stage. He said I should have been caught at stage 0, but instead I was diagnosed at stage 4. So I think that's just something very important for some of your viewers, and hopefully other people who will see this. Hopefully you'll have it posted, I'm guessing. And so as many people as possible can see it and know that, this is unacceptable. That and I wanted to hear that I didn't have it. And so I wish that I had been more of an advocate, like my sister, Renata, is that how you say your name? Ellison. I should have been an advocate like her. I mean, she wasn't taking it. And I've become that type of advocate for myself, but it's just, I wanted to hear what I wanted to hear, as opposed to, hearing that, hey, no, it's something is wrong, let's keep going. And I knew something was wrong, but I was just, hoping that it was okay, and it wasn't.
Another suggestion is try to make sure, and I've learned this from other participants, that you get a copy of whatever report they have, so that you have whatever they have. Should you decide to get a second opinion, should you decide, anything can happen. I've had some participants whose doctors went, closed their business or stopped practicing. And so they're searching for their medical information and I have having a lot of trouble getting it. So a good suggestion is to make sure you get a copy of your report, get a copy of what they have.
I want to give a second to Miss Jennifer to hop in. I know she wanted to say a few things.
I am just amazed by everyone's story. When I was diagnosed, I had, like I said, just got married. We are no longer together, but he was an amazing spouse during my time of going through breast cancer. And all the while he was a U.S. Capitol Police officer. So he was like working, coming home, taking care of me, and, going through treatment, chemo will suck the life out of you. And I was exhausted, nauseous, weak. And he came and did everything he could. We had a dog. It was just a lot. So I think another important thing is taking care of the caregiver. I know when you're going through you're just like, I'm just trying to survive. Thank you for helping me out, but I'm just trying to survive. And, looking back, you don't really realize how much that they are taking on, how much they are having to endure, and they may not be going through it physically, but they're going through it emotionally and mentally as well. And, that was one thing that I think I would have done differently, is kind of like, because I'm from California, I didn't have a lot of family. So my husband at the time was my family. He was the one that I leaned on. And I had friends that also stepped up, and I am thankful for them as well. But the person that is with you day to day, those are the people that sometimes get missed because everyone's focus is on the cancer patient. And so it's important to kind of, if you can find groups or even other women whose maybe parents or spouses or whoever your caregiver is, like finding other caregivers to like link them up with, connect them with, to help them through their journey as well.
There was one question in the chat for those who had children at diagnosis. How did you tell your children what was going on?
Well, I was diagnosed on the same day that my oldest son started his freshman year of college. So my husband shared it with him. And then together we shared it with my younger children. And of course, they were emotional initially. But so I told them that what would help me to get better and feel better was if they continue to do well in school. And I asked them to never use what I was going through as an excuse not to do well. And so, and they both did that, and I'm really happy about that. So that was just my way of, making sure that they still stayed focused, is to, ask them to please do, just do well in school. And on their own initiative, they would help around the house and just, help me. And so that's kind of how we, got along and managed.
I get asked that question a lot about, should I tell my kids? And I even have parents who have chosen not to tell their kids. And I recommend that you do talk to your kids. I mean, I had some kids, some of the older ones that were saying they didn't know what was going on. They thought maybe their parents were getting a divorce or something. And another one thought maybe mom was pregnant because they're talking behind closed doors all the time. So the kids know that something is going on. So the best thing to do is to answer their questions honestly. Let them know what's going on. You don't need to give any more. They will ask what they want to know. They will always ask that. And some parents say, well, I'm afraid of some of what they may ask. And kids are kids. They're very resilient and they will ask whatever. They will ask, are you going to be okay? The response is the doctors and I are doing everything in our power to fight this disease. And it's being honest with them. Some parents have even had their kids be part of the treatment. And your kids will let you know how involved they want to be and how much they want to know. But keeping it a secret is not the way to go.
And a few more things I want to just touch on. I know a lot of you guys have said you're still, it doesn't end today. So what would you tell our audience members about, what should they, besides being an advocate and having support, where are you in your journey right now? And what would you give one piece of advice to the women or men in the audience tonight about breast cancer awareness, prevention, treatment? What would you give them one important advice that you think is important for them to have moving forward from today's date?
What I would say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, breast cancer or not, life is short and you should be encouraged to live every moment that you are afforded breath in your body, to live it with your greatest potential and the purpose that God has given you on this earth. So if that means day one, you need to live it up, or day two, you need to take a nap, day three, you need a day for yourself. Be intentional about living your moment and living it fully. That's all I got for y'all. And it means the most. Like, it takes the stress off of worrying about tomorrow or what you're dealing with. Live in the moment now, because the next moment, the next minute, second, hour these days is not promised to us.
I would say that my advice for anyone going through this is that mental endurance is the key. It's the physical part, there's nothing you can do about, but I would say that going through it, the toughest part for me was the mental part. And you set the stage at the beginning. If you can go into it with a positive attitude, you can find humor when possible. That is going to help so much, because there's going to be so many dark moments where you just don't want to get out of bed. You don't have the strength. You are literally physically weak. But if you can put the days that you can put a smile on, the days that you can find your tribe and go and do things that you would normally do those things. That's my advice.
My advice would be to, allow people to help you. That was something that was very difficult for me initially, because, I'm very independent and also private. By being married to a minister, I already felt like, we were basically an open book. And so I just felt like some things I just kind of wanted to keep to myself. But over time, I have just come to realize that, sometimes we just need help, and it's okay to receive help. Not just from my family, but also from my friends who, often wanted to cook us dinner, or church members who, just wanted to, send over sweet potato pie. And we took a whole lot of sweet potato pies in, and it's okay. And the last thing, I have a shameless plug. I have 2 books. One is A Divine Detour, which means that sometimes, we think that we had one plan for our lives and God will detour. Detour for me was cancer. And so I've just tried to find the lessons in it. And the second one was Sparkling Through Adversity. My grandmother used to sing a song to say, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." And so even doing something dark like cancer, I still have to, and as hard as it is sometimes, I still like to let my light shine, and I try to sparkle, not just physically like with sparkling, sparkly clothes or jewelry, but I like to let people know that you don't always have to look like what you're going through, and that, God is able to do anything but fail. And so both of these books are available on Amazon. And I think that some of the information, based on my experience, again, I'm not a medical expert, but just based on my experience, I think that some of it could really help not just other people who are going through cancer, but anyone that's going through anything, I think they're helpful.
And I'll just add, I think, whether you have cancer or not, taking time to get to know you and know your body, how it responds to different stimuli, different chemicals, different foods. Because I feel like when you're in touch with you, it makes you more confident in your communications with your providers. It makes you less likely to second guess yourself. And I also feel like it equips you to be resilient because you know thyself. And I think when you know that, it's just easier sometimes to cope and remove toxicity and just all of those things that you don't need, as you attempt to heal, because going through cancer is just as much mental as it is physical. So I think that was the greatest gift cancer gave me, was the pause to really sit down and to reevaluate life and just figure out what's fun for me. What do I like? What do I don't like? What do I need to shore up in? And I think I definitely developed some mental fitness through the journey. And I wish I had had some of that prior too, because I think I would have had fewer rough days. Still would have had them, but fewer rough days had I been a little bit different in my mindset. So I look back and I can say that I'm grateful for my journey because so much growth has come out of it for me.
Some of the participants at Hopewell describe it as finding their new normal. The word normal takes on a different kind of meaning. And you have to find that meaning for yourself.
Absolutely. So I want to just thank all the panelists tonight. Your journey, your stories are needed. It can be hard to go over these memories, but it helps each of us to understand what you've gone through, how we should prepare ourselves, what we should know about the future. So thank you for taking the time, having the courage, for sharing your experiences. We are thankful for you guys. I hope to keep talking to you guys year after year about your experiences. This happens again next year. We will call upon you guys in the future, but I want to thank you all for your time and your effort tonight. Here are a list of, if you are in the Baltimore area, a list of places where you can get mammograms for those who are uninsured. This is a list. If you need them, please feel free to put your email in the chat. I can always email this to you as well. For any of the panelists who would like support, I did see someone ask that they want to follow your journey. If you would like to share your information, feel free to put your social media handles there, so the people here can also follow your journey and provide supports and prayers if you are comfortable with that. And then upcoming events for Target 2, which is the Women's Healthcare and Wellness. We will have an Afternoon of Jazz Mammograms for Marylanders fundraiser on Sunday, October 17th from 3 to 5 p.m. All the proceeds from this event will go towards Baltimore City residents, helping them offset costs associated with mammograms. So our goal is to provide mammograms to the community of Baltimore where we serve and surrounding communities. So this is an Afternoon of Jazz. It's a virtual event. You'll get a link. You'll have a Sunday afternoon with us, and hopefully you do join us. You can tickets or purchase on our Linktree accounts. And then also on the 24th, which is going to end up our Breast Cancer Month, we are participating in the Making Strides virtual walk on Sunday the 24th. You can go and join our team to donate today, tomorrow, whenever. If you like to walk with them, they are walking in person this year at the event. If you aren't comfortable with that yet, you can still walk and track your own miles at home. So at your own treadmill, at your gym, whatever you like to do, you can walk with us virtually and share pictures with us on social media of your experiences. Tonight, these are the speakers that all spoke. I'd like to thank my speakers for participating. I truly appreciate your time. And I did put the link for the survey in the chat. And that is all I have for you guys this evening. I thank you for your time and your patience. This is a great event. I love to see these events happen. I love talking to the survivors. I love hearing your stories. So once again, thank you for participating tonight.
Thank you all.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.